like that's available to you. So that's one thing. They're like, hey, we just want you to have the game. There you go. And another thing is, and this was my favorite, on Black Friday, when every other business out there, retail store out there, marks things down, has a Black Friday sale, tries to get you out to the stores, they actually marked up their game. I believe it went from $25 to $30. And people bought more of it than they did at $25 just because they were doing something different. And that example is just absolutely hilarious to me.
Yeah, and it was brilliant. When you think about it, the way we found out about it, we found out about it through a free copy, but you're writing about it in your book. I put it up on the blog. We've told everybody about it. It's a great way to develop word of mouth. So that's something to think about when you look at standard industry practices, which in a lot of cases to kind of put a lockbox around it. Yes, of course you're going to charge for it. Yes, of course you're going to put copyright protection on it. Yes, of course you're going to put something where people can't copy it. But these guys, I think the whole Cards Against Humanity, if I'm not mistaken, speaking of copyright protection, but they'll actually let you do stuff like design apps. They'll let you make offshoots of the game. So they were really, really smart when it came to that. They, of course, own the intellectual property around the name, and they're the only ones that can manufacture the game as it is. People want the original. But there's something to be said about allowing people to make their own and make offshoots of it and make apps. It's a really great way to get the word out about what you're doing and, like we're talking about, stand out from the crowd. Most people have to pay to get the word out about what they're doing.
And I want to make note that even though their game, you can download it for free and just print it at Kinko's, which I guess is FedEx Office these days, they are number one on Amazon in games. So they're doing something right. So their game is free, but they're number one and they're selling the most games. So it's just a pretty impressive model because they have the whole they zig, you zag model, and it just works like a charm.
There's a place down the street from us. I think it's worth adding to this discussion of they zig, you zag. It's not that way anymore, but when they started, for the first 2 years, they had no sign. It's in, I guess it kind of looked like an office building. It's in a retail building. And they had absolutely no sign. It was a popsicle store. You think, a popsicle store? Wow, that seems a little weird. You've heard of ice cream stores, maybe cookie stores, bakeries. Never a popsicle store. So right there, when it comes to dessert options, they're doing something different than most people. But they had no sign, and beyond that, they charged $3 per popsicle. It was a high-end place. And I knew one of the women that started it, and I asked her about it. What's the deal with the sign? And she said that was on purpose because it's a little bit hard to find, and we wanted people to, one, talk about it, but also have another person bring them there so it can be introduced and you can share the experience with them and you can show them how it works. I thought that was brilliant. And nowadays, these guys are lined up out the door. We've tried to go there a few times recently, Laurel, to pay like $3-4 for a popsicle. We can't even get in.
Well, I have to say, too, that the popsicles are out of this world. So they started with a really great product. If they had really bad popsicles, wouldn't matter if they had a sign or not.
Yeah, it's not just Kool-Aid that's frozen.
Yeah, I mean, they have really fresh, amazing popsicles. What's your favorite one, David?
I don't know. I get
You don't know?
whatever I can. Well, they change every day. That's another thing. They don't have the same menu. So you'll go down there, it'll be like pineapple. There's a chocolate one with chili peppers that I like.
Yep, that's
the menu changes every day. That's another thing. So there's kind of a discovery element that you just drop in and say, hey, what do they have today?
But I think in all of these examples, and this is something that John Acuff said at his conference that you and I attended, David, was that to go the extra mile in your business and to stand out or to provide better service, like usually the extra mile is just 3 feet. I mean, again, that goes back to the shade of the squirrel is black as opposed to gray, just a little bit different. So you want to go that 3 feet if you want to stand out from the crowd and do something that's a little bit different.
Here's something anybody listening can put this into action, and this is an amazing one when it comes to service. So how many people are selling things online that are digital products? A lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people are still mailing something if it's a higher end thing. There's certainly coaching. There's all sorts of consulting options. Here's something great that you can do when it comes to really standing out. Most people, when you go purchase something, like I bought a book online yesterday, usually how it works is you type in your credit card information, they verify it. Okay, look for your book in about a week. Here's what you could do, though. Follow-up call when somebody purchases. And it doesn't necessarily have to be you. It could be somebody that you work with. This is something that you could hire out. Hey, just noticed that you bought the book. Thanks a lot. I spent a lot of time on it. Get it, read it. If you have any follow-up questions, here's my Twitter info. Right there, you started the relationship.
That would like blow people's mind.
It would blow people's minds. Absolutely.
Yeah, a book, a course, I mean, anything where you can see who's bought it.
But
if
nobody's
you follow
doing
up
that.
with them. No one's doing
Because they're
that.
too worried. They say, well, it's just totally hands-off. It's a hands-off business. No. It's not a hands-off business. It might be a hands-off moneymaker. But if you really want that true relationship with people, you could do that with a book. You could do that with a course. You could do that with a plugin. I bought a WordPress plugin the other day. How would that have been if I got a call from the guy? Hey, notice you got the plugin. If you need any help, just know that we're available here at pluginhelp.com, and we're happy to support you. Make sure you can get it up and running.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. I was even on a website the other day where it had one of those pop-ups where someone's like, do you want to chat? And it said, I don't even know if I believe this, but it said it was the owner of the site. It was like a dating online site, and I was going to interview the guy, and it said, hey, this is the guy that owns the site, do you have any questions or anything? And I felt like obligated to talk to him. It could have just been a service person. I'm not even sure, but just to have that level of service, you're like connecting with that person, and it gave a personal touch that I really hadn't found on any other website because it wasn't just a robot.
Let me give you another example, actually a couple of them from the car industry. This is something that you could do with any kind of product that you've got. This is amazing. One, Prius. We've all seen Prius. It's been out about 10 years now. It's a hybrid car. It's got a big battery in it. It takes gas. The issue is that battery, if you touch it and it shocks you, you're dead. A lot of people didn't want to work on them initially. So here's what Prius did. They would come to wherever you are. If you're in the middle of nowhere and there's not a Prius mechanic, they will tow you back to somebody that does work on Prius. Now there's a solid electric car, the Tesla. We've heard about the Tesla, right? No kind of gas. Here's what's up with Tesla. They send a mechanic to you. There are no dealerships. So if you're in Nashville, you're in Omaha, you're in somewhere in California where there's not a Tesla mechanic, they will actually send a Tesla mechanic to you. Anybody could do something very similar as these guys did, and really blow people's minds. The other thing, other than service, that everybody has access to is speed. You think about Zappos, everybody knows that you go to Zappos, and they're known for service, but they're also known for speed. Now they are. What they used to do is you would pick shipping, let's say 5 to 7 days. Everybody was shipping ground, but what they would do at Zappos, they would send something to you the next day. Hey, we upgraded your shipping free next day, you'll get it. Now, how exciting is that when you think that you're not going to get your shoes for the next 5 to 7 days and you've got them the next day? Huge, right?
And that just makes sales happen better, because think about, this is what I always hate, is when I'm in the grocery store or something and I've gotten everything I need and then I have to wait to pay. And no one wants to wait to pay. Like when you're excited, get the sale when you're excited about something, when you're ready to do it. And that's what Zappos does. You're excited about these shoes? Here they are right now. Get more excited about them. Keeping people in that certain level of excitement that makes them want to give money to you.
Get them using your product as soon as possible. Get them talking about the product and the experience as soon as possible. Here's another one for you, Laurel. I bought a piece of software. You know this. Nobody would because they don't see this. I'm using an old keyboard on a brand new Macintosh computer. 15 years old. I like it. It's big and it's clunky, but it doesn't have a lot of the buttons that the newer keyboards do. It doesn't have volume controls. It doesn't have some of the controls that something like yours does. I have a piece of software where I can program any key that I want and make it a hotkey. It didn't have the function that I wanted, though. I wanted a specific mute button. Here's what I did. Got the piece of software. I wrote the guy. He had an update for me the next day. How is that for speed?
Wow.
Unbelievable. It was totally easy for him to do, but instead of saying, hey, I'll get you on the list, he just went ahead and did it. He knew how easy it was right there. I'm a fan of this guy for life. I've ended up buying a lot more of his software. I've actually been talking about it like I am now. There'll be a link to the software in the show notes if you're interested. One more. This is an old DJ trick. Knew a guy named Bobby Bennett. And Bobby was a guy out of Washington, D.C., an old R&B guy. If you've had XM, he was the musical director of a station they had on there for a number of years called Soul Street. And Bobby taught me this trick. This is really a way to impress people. Back in the day, you used to get requests on the DJ line. People would call up and they would say, hey, Bobby, could you play blank, whatever the song was? And he would say this, sure, I'll see if I can get that on for you. And then he would hang up the phone, get the record, and he would play it next. Wouldn't keep people waiting. He just went ahead and did it. And we all have those kind of opportunities just to go ahead and do it. You're going to do it anyway. You might as well do it now. But it's 10 times more impressive when you can go ahead and do it now.
So let's sum all this up before we get into our giveaways today. So I think number one, be the black squirrel, and that be just a shade different. You don't have to be crazy different, but be a shade different from your competitors and the other people out there. So number two is they zig, you zag. Do the opposite of what your competitors are doing. Three is service. Have better service, have different service, have a different angle to your service than your competitors. And four is speed.
Laurel, we got some giveaways.
Yes, we are still doing our Red Hot giveaway, which has been really amazing, better than I ever thought it could be.
And this is, of course, brought to you by Mic Tech Audio, makers of the Procast SST. If you're interested in podcasting, it's the all-in-one solution. You just plug it straight in, go into free software such as Audacity, what we use here on Red Podcast. Check it out, Procast SST, if you want to see it in action. There's some great review videos on YouTube. This contest, you can get in it. It's not too late. redpodcast.com/giveaway is how to do it. And I'm going to start things off today, Laurel. Let's give away another Blinkist subscription. We love this service. It's like Cliff Notes. If you want to read a book but you don't have time, go to Blinkist. 7 to 10 minutes. You can get the big ideas and be on your way.
Yeah, book summaries. Well, I got our list up here, David, so I can go ahead and pick someone from it. Let's see. What about Joshua Rivers?
All right, Joshua Rivers, you've got a Blinkist subscription. Email us at hello@redpodcast.com. We'll get that set up for you. Thank you very much for listening.
What's our next one?
Let's do a book, Laurel. How about Delivering Happiness? Tony Shea from Zappos. This is a guy. You mentioned him. He's known for speed and service. Works great. It's a great, great story. The thing I got from it, Laurel, is not only the speed and the service that he delivers, but there were some down times at Zappos. He had to go through a lot to get it to what it is, put in his own money. You know, Zappos started out, they had no products. When somebody would order something, he was just testing it. He would go down to the mall, buy the shoes, and send it to people.
That sounds like a hassle.
And it's a good story.
Yeah, well, great. Well, do you have the list up, or do you want me
to
pick somebody? All right, you pick this one.
Let's give it to Scott Seneffer. I hope I'm getting that name right. I just like the alliteration, but Scott is the first name, Senffner.
Great, Scott. Congratulations. Sorry if we butchered your name, but you are now the proud owner of Delivering Happiness.
That's another episode, Laurel. Thank you so much.
Thanks, David. I'll see you on the next one.
It's been fun. See you guys next time.
You've been listening to Red Podcast, Real Entrepreneur Development. Subscribe today using iTunes, Stitcher, or via RSS at redpodcast.com.